Check.
Check.
Hey everybody, it's Rob. We're just about to get started with this week's episode. Less than 10 minutes left. While you got a couple of minutes here, why don't you go check out OTheAnthem.com. It's where you can find everything OThe Anthem, including the merch store, the podcast, and all of the videos. Open up a new tab.
Anchor.fm/OThe Anthem is the place where you can get direct links to all the podcatchers you use to listen to our show every week.
Did you know we record every episode live on Facebook? Of course you do. But make sure that you're liking the page and turning on notifications so you get notified when we go live.
We make a ton of video content between the podcast, the short films, Heretics. YouTube.com/OThe Anthem is the place for it all.
And of course you can find me on any social network at Robert N. Cheek.
And me at LegendCB5.
And you can find the podcast at OThe Anthem on all your social networks. Before we get to that, we have to talk about the ongoing thing that is the 2020 election. Most specifically, the president's reaction to the 2020 election. And this is, I think, the most telling image to come out of this entire election process. And this thing that you see to my side here is a list of Trump tweets. And don't worry, I didn't go to Trump's tweets because I don't want to do that. But I did go to a website where somebody was talking about his tweets and I stole their screenshot. So, but this is what they're doing now. They are just basically saying, he posts a tweet. The first tweet here is, it's actually from a couple weeks ago, but big press conference today in Philadelphia at Four Seasons, total landscaping. Oh, this was
Nothing wrong about that tweet. Flag that one, Twitter.
Meme of the week was somebody who had their yard being done by Four Seasons, and they had like the trailer parked out front, and it was like, I feel like I'm meeting a celebrity.
They're taking advantage though. They are putting together T-shirts and stuff like they have a Lawn and Order T-shirt.
Yeah.
Make America Rake Again, I think was one of theirs. Like it's pretty good. They're capital. I always like it when a small business like this can totally capitalize on the situation.
I have not liked. I think we talked about it last year when we went home for Christmas, and a lot of Maryland was like, choose us for your plumbing and choose Trump again in 2020. And I'm like, nope, not using you. But I will take the punny advertisements by the company that got roped into this for no reason, clearly.
Well, it also sounded like the call that was involved in booking it was like, are you guys available for a press conference today? And it's like, yeah, sure, I guess. Like,
I mean, we don't have a conference room. We have the parking lot. We'll take it. It's fine. Is the sign out there? Are we going to be able to see the sign? Yes. Okay, we got it.
Good enough.
George, I just got the weirdest call. The president's coming here? I don't know.
Rudy Giuliani and somebody on the sex offender registry is going to be showing up.
Aren't those the same person?
Hit it,
Manny. Hey. But so what they've done is basically Twitter has censored the president. And I use this as an example just because his first tweet is relatively normal. It's just making a point. And then he follows it up with a bunch of like, the election is fraud and people are voting who shouldn't have voted. And Twitter's just basically like, nope, we're not.
About it like this, like if you say you were going to court for something, right? Like you were wrongly accused for killing your wife, and it was really the one-armed man who did it, right? And you needed to hire a lawyer, and you look around and you can't get any of the top lawyers, so you have to settle for Rudy Giuliani, or someone of his ilk, right?
Wait, is he the guy with his hand in his pants in that video?
In the Borat, yes.
No, okay.
So you have to hire a Rudy Giuliani-like lawyer, right? And then you're showing up for court. You're like in your suit. You're ready for the whole thing to start. You're looking around for your lawyer. And then he comes in. He's just like, like, oh, sorry, I'm late. I got pulled over for a DUI, but it's all right. I bribed the cop. And you got to like look at him and you're just like, should you be my legal counsel at this moment? If this is how badly you fuck up on the way to help me, is this something that I want to examine further?
There's a meme thing that I loved when I was practicing law, and it's like, it's still good. It just doesn't, I don't see these on the daily anymore. But it was like, you're going to jail if, and it was like pictures of lawyers where like one guy was wearing house shoes to court. And they're like, if your lawyer shows up with these, you going to jail. So you should just cut a deal. And one of them, the lawyer came in and he was wearing a Tommy Bahama shirt. And then he borrowed somebody's jacket to put on over it and pushed his very long hair out of his face with sunglasses. And they're like, if your lawyer looks like this, you're going to jail. So you need to cut a deal.
I can't even. The other thing is that like Trump, in part of the preparing for possibly having to have a legal fight upcoming in this election, looked at Jared and was just like, we have the legal team all squared away, right? And Jared's like, yeah, no problem. No problem.
Got it.
We got it. And then he turns around and it's Pam Bondi and Rudy Giuliani. like,
all right, who's still bar approved here? Anybody?
I would imagine that when Trump was like, get me the finest set of election lawyers you can find, like you're thinking that he's going to put together like an OJ style dream team or something like that. Like not Giuliani and Pam Bondi.
What are the odds that Jared put together a really great team, and then they went to meet Trump, and Trump's like, I don't know any of these guys. Who are these guys? And like, this is literally the primo election law team in the country. And he's like, nah, we got to get Rudy in here. Is Rudy still in the building? Pam? Is Pam here? Can we add these? And then all the other lawyers were like, nah, fuck this. And they left. And it's just Rudy and Pam now.
I don't get it.
But obviously, the point of this being, Trump is fighting the results of the election on grounds that, as a former attorney, do not make sense to me. As a political scientist, I have the degree. They don't make sense to me. As a scholar, if you will, of politics, they don't make sense to me. Have you heard anything that, other than the automatic recounts, which the states are like, yeah, we got to redo the vote. We got to count them again. And by the way, how upset's Nevada going to be when they finish in 6 weeks and then they got to redo that same vote next day? Poor people.
We'll have it by the next election. Don't worry.
But
by the way, the memes last week of making fun of Nevada were chef's kiss, just beautiful. I loved it. I was enjoying every single one of them.
Well, and I think I told you on near election day, my theory is that the state Secretary of State there was like, all right, we have a chance to be a kingmaker here. We can make every president come to Nevada. So we need to time this out exactly right. Okay, how far are we? 86. All right, we're right on track. Oh, Pennsylvania's caught it. Well, shit. Never mind. All right, just whenever you're ready, give me those ballots. Because it felt like they were trying to build it up to be like, Arizona's going to call, and he needs 6. He's got to get 6 to get to 270. And guess who's got 6, baby? It's here.
What's amazing to me about the whole thing is that, like, it would be the same way if the election ever came down to California. Like, if it's like all the states were decided except for California because, I don't know, some Republican from California was running for president. This week on the Oh the Anthem podcast, we talk about the whole Gamestop debacle and what it means for investing going forward. In the politics, we talk about the impeachment trial which is coming on and all the lawyers that Trump has lost along the way, as well as Marjorie Taylor Greene just being completely out of her mind. The dark winter is dawning here on the COVID, and we talk a lot about the variants and the vaccines and everything having to do with that. And then also a week away, the Super Bowl. We'll preview it, and we'll talk about the Staff-Goffard trade. You're not going to want to miss any of it. Stafford-Goff trade. You're not going to want to miss any of it coming up right now on the Other Podcast. Stonks. This is Corey, and this is the podcast.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's Rom. Welcome to episode 356 of the Anthem podcast, coming to you from the hashtag OTA LA Studios, high above the 110 freeway in downtown Los Angeles, California. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you for listening on your podcatcher of choice, the easiest way, anchor.fm/OTheAnthem.
And right off the top, a quick RIP to Screech. Unfortunately, beloved Screech from Saved by the Bell, who I'm realizing more and more with my coworkers, they have no idea about anything from pop culture from before, 2005.
Yeah.
But Dustin Diamond, who played the character Screech on Saved by the Bell, The New Class, Saved by the Bell, The College Years, and Getting in Dustin Diamond, or whatever the name of his porno was. So unfortunately, one of those stories that terrifies the fuck out of me, diagnosed 3 weeks ago with stage 4 malignant, I want to say prostate cancer.
I think that was something like that.
And died today.
Yeah.
So 3 weeks from like, hey, I'm just looking a little weird, feeling a little weird. What's up, doc? Oh, stage 4 cancer. 3 weeks later, dead. So it reminds me of a guy who I had in childhood who I called uncle, but who, like, not really a relation.
Yeah, like a friend of the family. Yeah.
Yeah. And had like a little cough, the kind of cough that you avoid having these days, because when somebody hears it, they're like, "What's up?" But just like a little like,
yeah.
No, I'm okay. Noticed that every morning for 2 weeks he had like an hour where he was like, can't seem to get rid of that.
Yeah.
But the rest of the day he's fine. And 2 weeks later he died. Went to the doctor. They were just like, "Oh yeah, you have stage 4 lung cancer. It's already spread to your liver and to your intestines. So there's not a lot we can do for you." And he was like, "Oh, okay." Well, and also very Christian. My parents were very Christian. So it was like, I'm going to leave it in God's hands. We're going to go pray. And then he died 2 weeks later. So
yeah,
it's tragic for his family and for his loved ones. I think he had a fiance. I don't think she was his wife. I think it was a fiance or a girlfriend or something. And to imagine going like, 2 weeks ago, you think everything's fine. You go to the doctor, and they're like, "Oh, by the way, death sentence." And 3 weeks, bam, dead.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine.
Well, I mean, in these COVID ages that we live in, I feel like this is a real thing to think about, because you never know when somebody will be taken from you. I personally didn't have a lot of. I wasn't a Saved by the Bell fan. Rob was more of the Saved by the Bell type, but. Yeah,
wait. What's the Saved by the Bell type? Huh? What's that supposed to mean?
The kids who watch Saved by the Bell.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what to say. That wasn't my deal at the time. So, but yeah, I mean, best to him and his family, I guess.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, you mentioned these times also happening this week. 4 of the people I know personally from LA are traveling to 4 different major American cities. Because the pandemic's over. But we'll get to that in a little while.
Yeah.
So off the top, I think that a lot is happening in the world. And I don't know about you, Corey. I assume that you, like me, are getting a lot of messages like, "Can you explain this thing that's happening?" And then you said earlier, and I'm going to steal the line you said, we're like, "Well, listen, I don't know a lot about it, but..." And then an hour later, you explained as much about the stock market as you can actually explain.
Hour and a half later, I wrap up. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, and that's nothing. There is way more that you don't really understand about it. But I figure we'll give you a chance to give your little wrap up that you've given people before about the stock market because obviously Robinhood, the app,
Yeah.
and GameStop, along with BlackBerry and AMC and
Nokia,
Nokia stocks, have been in the news this week. So,
yeah. So, I mean, I guess the first thing to explain, because some people don't know this, and I don't want to make anyone feel unincluded in what we're talking about here. So the stock market, generally speaking, is meant to be an investor's confidence in how a company is doing.
oh, you mean
So-
it's like a casino? We place bets and then eventually they pay off.
Think about it like that. Yeah. I mean, if you're really confident, the Chiefs are a 3.5 point favorite or something like that in the Super Bowl. If you're confident that the Chiefs are going to win by more than 3.5 points, then you put the money on the Chiefs to win. If you think you might invest a lot of money into the Chiefs and then all of a sudden find out that Patrick Mahomes is out, and then you're like, oh God, I have this foolish bet that I'm never going to win. That can be a situation much like in trading stocks where you say to yourself, oh, Disney's going to have a really good year this year, so I'm going to buy in on Disney now so that when it goes up later, I get more money from the stock purchase, but also from like dividends and things like that might come along.
And sorry, just to interrupt a bit. If you work for Disney and you know that it's going to have a really good year, not allowed. Insider trading.
Right.
So you can't use information to make money in the stock market.
But I mean, like any information that is available to people on the whole, like, they announced they're going to have a new Marvel show on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
So if I invested before they announced that, then I am just going speculatively off of what I think they're going to be doing. Mm-hmm. And then once they announce this, the price goes up, and then I make whatever. Well, if it goes from 100 to 115, just to make even numbers.
Sure, yeah.
If it goes from 100 to 115, I made $15 per share that I have with that news. If something bad happens and it goes way down, then I've lost, it goes down to 75, I've lost 25 on a share.
Probably a better example is investing in Marvel Studios in 2008. And they're like, okay, so we're going to form this company. You can buy stock in it. We're going to do an Iron Man movie. And everyone's like, those superhero movies have been hit or miss. It seems like a big bet. But if you invested, because you're like, I know Iron Man is the one.
Yeah.
It's Robert Downey Jr. Ooh, I don't know about that because he's, had problems in the past. But you say, I got a feeling it's going to be a good one. And you buy a stock at $5.
Yeah.
And then it
explodes. Yeah.
300. And then they get bought by Disney and it goes up to a 1-for-1 Disney exchange. Now you have Disney stock at $158.
Or you could just buy out at the price that Disney buys out the stock at. So, like, if a company buys another company, there will be a lot of purchasing the stock from the shareholders. So, if you're in a situation where you own something like Marvel and then they got bought by Disney, the price goes way up because the value of the share is higher than whatever it is the day of trading because it's going to go up, hypothetically. And that allows you to basically get a better buyout of the share value because it's going to be gone. Like, you're either going to get Disney stock or you're going to get money. Like, there's no other, like, I'm going to hold on to this Marvel in case they become a company again. Like, there's none of that.
And sometimes, for Facebook, people would actually kept the stock sold took Facebook stock and then sold the Facebook stock they got. And then later on that week when it crashed down and all the hubbub went down, they're like, oh, well, I have cash. Like, there's a lot of different ways you can play with the market. But I think the recipe we're getting into now is when a company's on the downslope, the other side of this,
well, I mean,
the value drops.
So specifically what's going on with GameStop is short selling. So say you have a CD, the Venga Boys. You were humming the Venga Boys earlier, right? The value of that CD is $5, right? I say to you, I would like to have that Venga Boys CD. I'm going to short that, so I would like a share of it, but I'm not going to pay you for it right now. I'm going to pay you for it whenever I officially take it on. Mm-hmm. So I go to the record store. This is all very dated conversation we're having right now. Go to the record store. I say, hey, I'm going to take the CD and I'm going to just pay for it when I eventually keep it. And they go ahead.
Yeah.
So right now, the value is $5. Then all of a sudden, somebody from the Venga Boys dies and the value goes through the roof. They're selling at $15, $20, $25. And as the person who shorted it, you have to say to yourself, is this going to keep going up? Mm-hmm. Because the more it goes up, the more I'm fucked. Or is this going to crest and then come back down, and then I'm not like, because you obviously want to live in a world where, you know, nothing happens with the Venga Boys, and this $5 CD only becomes less valuable. And then when you eventually buy it from them, you buy it for $3, and you've hypothetically made $2.
Yeah,
because
so
you've shorted it before it went down.
I had an image up next to you here that kind of explains how shorts work, and Corey has kind of explained what's happening right now in the market. The way that shorts are supposed to work, the way that you gamble the market and make money is, I am going to take a stock and I'm going to tell this person, the market, I want one stock. I want one share of this company.
Yeah.
Right now it's valued at $5. And then I'm going to immediately turn and sell that.
Yeah.
Now I have $5. That person has the stock. And for a certain period of time, a window, I don't have to repay the loan. If I repay it right now, all $5 goes back to the person who gave me the stock.
Yeah.
But if I wait and the value drops, that person I sold it to has something less valuable. But when I pay for it, I pay the $3.
Yeah.
And now
and then you return the stock and you keep the extra $2.
Well, you don't even have to return the stock. You're paying.
I mean,
for
you could short hypothetically forever. But I mean, like the basic gist here is that what has happened with GameStop and Reddit and the retail investors who are out in the market right now is they've done something that hedge funds have done for a long time. Which
how
is
they make money. This is how they make money.
They realize that there are hedge funds who are put into a financial disadvantage because of the positions that they put themselves in. And if you can do something to really make it hurt for them, then you benefit in the end. So there were a lot of hedge funds that were heavy into shorting GameStop. And something that's important to know about shorting is that there are more shares of shorted stock than there are actual shares in the company.
Stock. Yes.
So
some people get stuck.
Again, even numbers sake, this is not what it is. But if there's 100 shares of GameStop out there available for someone to purchase, there is 110 available to short.
Yes.
So if you get to the point where no available stock is available because it's all either been shorted or purchased by somebody, then there's nowhere you can go except for buy from the people who have purchased it and driven the price up. So
also, you can resell shorted stock. So you may be the third handler of a shorted stock.
Yeah.
Where I need to get that back, and you're telling a person that, and you are the third one down the line, saying like, "Oh fuck, I really need to get that stock back."
Yeah.
And there are no shares now, and I owe somebody who owes somebody. It's gonna start being a real problem soon.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, you shouldn't be able to do. You shouldn't be able to resell the fictional thing that doesn't exist. But you can.
There's a lot of things about the stock market that are no longer about just investing in the financial well-being of a company going forward. I mean, like, there have been a lot of stocks that have gone crazy in this past year. And, obviously commodities too. Bitcoin is traded as a commodity. If you have any Tesla stock, I'm sure you're very pleased with yourself with how it's been going this past year here. The thing about this is that I like the fact that Reddit and these retail investors decided that they were going to pull a hedge fund move to fuck a bunch of hedge funds. That part I like. And in the premise of let's fuck hedge funds. And a lot of these places needed to take in like emergency cash to get them through.
They went bankrupt.
Or like they just made it tried to make it through however they could. But basically where we're at right now is that one of the large hedge funds who had a huge short position had to give up and pay for the stock at the price it is now. So that drove the stock up even higher.
Yep.
But we're at this point now where everyone is playing this hold game where it's like, let's not sell the stock. Everybody hold it. Like nobody move. But at some point the stock is going to start precipitously falling.
Yes.
And somebody who is not part of the reason why I never liked the idea of the stock market is I feel like I could never leave the computer.
Yes.
Because you go to lunch, you think you're having a fun time, and then all of a sudden you found out your portfolio tanked while you were away from the desk. Which is why when you see somebody who's like really into day trading or in like foreign markets or anything like that,
they're there.
They have 15 computer screens. They're constantly sitting there. They never walk away because something could start happening, and then all of a sudden you just see a colossal drop in something. And for people who have, hypothetical fortunes in GameStop right now because they bought when it was $4 and now it's way the hell up.
Or $1.15, which is I think where it was at the beginning.
It's just a matter of like some normal everyday Americans are going to be the ones who end up getting fucked here because it's going to start dropping and they're not going to know what to do and they're not going to gambling again. Going back to the gambling example, you go to a slot machine, right? You put $10 in. Who the hell cares if I lose $10, right?
But you won.
Yeah, but you put it in, you hit it, and then all of a sudden you won $500, and you're like, well, I'm 500 up.
Yep.
I mean, I should keep gambling.
Of course.
Because, if I lose a little bit of this, I'm still up. And then you start ticking away, and then several hours later, you're only $20 up, and you're just like, I can get this back, I can get this back, and then you're zero, and then you put more money.
Now more money's in.
To try and win the 500 that you had originally. You should have just walked away, but the emotional addictive part of our brain says, no, you can do better.
And if I put $490 in this machine and I get back that 500, I'll still break even.
Yeah.
So no matter how much I lose, I'll still break even. I had people ask me specifically too, why these stocks that you see in
it's already started dropping significantly. I mean, like, just looking at the last 5 days here, right? So it goes up to nearly $500. $450 is the high end. It drops down below 200, and then spikes back up to about 4, and now we're right in that 250 range about right now.
So I think the prediction I saw is it's probably going to settle
225 specifically.
It's going to settle at about 150. The big price jump was, like Corey said, some people reached the end of their short. And they had to buy the stock at whatever rate it would be sold at.
Yeah, I mean that was the 265 to 469 raise that happened, was people getting out of their short position.
And then a bunch of people who are ideologically not with the group, but just kind of took advantage of the price jump, sold out, which caused the precipitous drop.
Right.
And then there was another rise when people were like, "Oh shit, we can get out of our short positions now. Let's do it." They jumped on it, and it caused the stock to come back up.
Yeah.
And eventually what's going to happen, the best case scenario for you if you're an investor is that you, and also, by the way, we're not investors. This is not advice. This is just our opinion.
Yeah.
But
the best chance for you was to get out when it was 469, because it's never it's not going to get higher than that. I can't,
because there are a bunch of people who still have billions in shorts. If you can find the day that their short is up and start a run on sell, then they will in turn start a run on buy to try and get these shorts out, and it'll cause a huge spike in the price, and then you can sell and get a lot. But it's going to settle at like 150.
Here's the problem, and this is why I say regular everyday Americans are going to be the one who suffer here at the end, because you can be really smart and you can know what you're talking about in terms of the stock market and how things are going to move, but you are never going to have the resources that a hedge fund has.
True.
We've talked about it many times whenever we brought up stock market related things. The most expensive rent for any office in the country is in, is it Secaucus, New Jersey? It's right across the river.
Right across the river, yeah.
Piscataway, something like that. It's literally in Jersey, right across the river from the lower Manhattan. And they have
at the World Trade Center, whatever you see directly across,
right in Jersey.
The wall.
Yeah. There's a very super expensive office building there that has direct fiber optic cable running from it to the stock market. And you get to find out 20 seconds before anyone else in the country what the value of the price is.
Yep.
And the value of that to the person who owns or leases space in the office is the highest look at find the most expensive place in town, like the biggest mansion you can find. The rent on the office there is relatively similar.
Yeah.
It's absurd. You're paying mansion money for a shitty office in Secaucus.
It's not an office, really.
Yeah.
It's a space to put your computer.
Right. It's a server space. Yeah. And, with high velocity trading and the kind of why hedge funds were able to get away with this before, like all along this whole time, and retail investors haven't been able to, is because you have so much equity as a hedge fund. You have, all of Rob's money, you have all of my money, you have, the Akron City District 401k
$3 billion. I mean, $12 billion overall for the one that went bankrupt. $12
Right.
billion in assets. Who can put together $12 billion?
Yeah, I mean, like, I could buy. Think about it realistically. If you could buy 1 million shares of $1 million worth of Disney stock or Tesla stock or whatever, and it goes up by $10, you've made millions of dollars.
Yep.
So it's one of those. It's one of those, like, you can't. The value of being able to trade high and buy low and trade high is huge for these companies that work on every single margin they possibly can to get it. Now, the GameStop part of this whole thing, it sounds utterly preposterous that there was value in this company, which is, basically dead. But what I found really interesting is what really got this thing going on Reddit was a conversation that was being had with a lot of investors where they were saying to themselves, GameStop has had a very predictable wave every single time a new console has come out. Every single time a new console drops, GameStop revenue goes through the roof, and then after a while, it drops. And even though we're in a world now where a lot of people are buying games online as opposed to going to GameStop to get them, the new CEO of GameStop is from Airbnb or something like that, somewhere in the digital space. And there's been a lot of confidence that even though he might not be able to write GameStop, if you will, he's going to be able to set them up to compete in the future. So it's not like a dead brand. It's not like Blockbuster, who's just waiting for the stores to fall out. They're making a transition into a digital ecosystem, and that is what got a lot of investors saying we should buy at this stock right now because it's going to go up. That the logic was not it was going to go up $450. It's like it was going to go up $20 or something like that, because everyone's looking at GameStop like it's a dead commodity, but it's still very much alive, and it's going to have a very nice couple months here.
So, yes and no. Why did people in Reddit buy in? Exactly what you're saying.
I mean, all I was saying is that's the first part of the argument that became this boulder rolling down the mountain.
Yes. But the problem or the situation started because the CEO, who is from the digital space, at their quarterly or yearly meeting of stockholders, and again, pointing out, these are the three companies that are in the mix here. GameStop, BlackBerry, and AMC. What do these three things have in common? Well, the formerly digital, now CEO, or he's on the board. I don't think he's actually the CEO. He's a major shareholder who is the
he bought the most stock, and then he sort of became... He's
the de facto CEO. Yeah, the guy in the job.
Exactly.
So what he said was, at the shareholder meeting, was that we are shifting into the digital space in so much as selling games online and maybe even renting them. And he mentioned specifically they were going to compete with Amazon. Now, Amazon is in this field in two ways. One, you can buy products and have them brought to your house. Two, you can stream products, but also the number one game streaming service in the country. Can you name it? We used to see commercials about it all the time. For CDs, not for streaming.
Oh. No, what is...
Gamefly.
Oh, really?
You remember Gamefly?
Yeah.
They are one of the number one streaming companies for games in the country. You know who owns Gamefly?
GameStop?
Amazon.
Oh.
And the actual probably number one game streaming company in the country, or in the world, really. Stream. You know who owns that?
Steam, you mean?
Steam. Sorry, Steam.
Yeah.
Yes. You know who owns that?
Is that Amazon?
Nope, Microsoft.
Oh.
So essentially what this young buck guy from the digital space said is, we're going to take on Amazon and Microsoft at the same time with a company that's very near bankruptcy. So all of the guys who are hedge fund owners were like, we're going to short the fuck out of this. This guy's going to drive it into the ground. And a bunch of people said, this is something from my child. A bunch of people like us who are in their 30s and 40s said, first of all, fuck them. This guy's got a good idea, and he wants to do something with it. And they make the argument that Corey just made to you, which is like, listen, they've had steady growth. They have a young guy who's going to be able to take the company in the future. We should invest in them.
Yeah.
The secret plan is we are about to fuck over a bunch of hedge fund owners.
Well, the fucking over the hedge fund owners came a little bit later.
And then it became part of the actual story. Then it was like, you know what? I think we can get more support if we just tell people we're fucking over a bunch of rich people. And they did. And they got Reddit involved. And then it rolled downhill. And the reason I say...
Like, so think about it like this, right? June of last year, GameStop was at $4.13 a share, right? Around October, when this plan first started coming into action, they moved up to about $10 a share with this sort of retail investment of like, or this retail shareholder kind of idea of they're going to do well for the short term, so let's get some money while we can.
Yeah.
Then, as people started realizing that there was a lot of
a huge short position,
a huge short position that could really fuck some people, that's when this thing just went, through the moon. So, we were at $20 right at the beginning of the year, December 31st specifically, 1884, and then mid-January, the 19th, it shot up to $39.36, and then 347 2 days later.
Yes.
So I mean, like, it's not realistic to think that that 225, which is the current stock value, is relative for the value of GameStop in our economy.
No.
But it was more of a precision move. And if we were watching Billions and Axe was saying, I found out that a rival hedge fund has a huge short position and I got money and I'm going to buy a bunch of this stock, then people would be watching that show at home going like, yeah, Axe, fuck them. Like,
yes.
But now it's because it was retail investors and going up against the hedge funds, there was a lot less of that fuck 'em attitude that was going on when they were playing the same game that the hedge funds play themselves.
Well, for average Americans, for people like me, we were like, yes, fuck the hedge fund.
Oh, no, I mean, from the corporate side of the whole, yeah.
Well,
because, I mean, like, the other part of this, too, is Robinhood.
Well, wait, before you go to that, because I just want to mention offhand, the reason that these other companies are in the mix is very similar. BlackBerry announced that they were going to go back to keypads and away from screens. They were going to go to actual keyboards like the old BlackBerry. And apparently that was the news that incurred a huge short position against them because people are like, really dumb idea.
Yeah.
They're going to get fucked. Here we go. AMC is taking on the major studios who are now releasing on streaming and basically said, no, this will not fly in a time when no one can go to movie theaters and their profits are lower than they've ever been. So also the hedge funds say,
short it.
We're going to short the fuck out of this because it's going to go down. And so this is the dark part of our economy. And that's really what I just wanted to touch on is this is the dark part of our economy is that, by the way, a hero of the left for the right, the senator from Utah, whose name is escaping me right now, former presidential candidate.
Mitt Romney?
Mitt Romney.
Yeah.
Is the CEO of Bain Capital.
Yeah.
And this is what they do. They look for companies that are in distress and then come in and bail them out and then cut them into pieces and sell off the pieces because the pieces are more valuable than the thing as a whole.
Yeah.
Capitalism is built on finding someone at their most vulnerable and taking advantage of them. We talked a lot about Martin Shkreli marking up diabetes medicine when he took over the company. Now, it
was like insulin, wasn't it?
Insulin, yeah. It was a type of insulin that a lot of people use. It went from $20 a dose to $900 a dose. And everyone screamed and cried about it, not realizing that the insurance company who was going to bear the brunt of that. And the stuff you were hearing about it was insurance companies saying, we need to get some media on this or else we're going to be out on our asses on this insulin stuff because they cannot deny life-saving or life-maintaining medicine.
Yeah.
They have to give it to you. And now everyone got up in arms. And now he's the bad guy. But he's been doing what people have been doing.
He got caught.
Entire time.
That's
he got caught doing
yeah.
it. And you know what? Robinhood got caught. Go ahead. So the bigger part of this is the story of Robinhood, I think. So.
I think to me, it's not so much that Robinhood got caught. It's that Robinhood did the one thing that they couldn't do if they wanted to keep a happy and passionate user base because they fucked them at the excuse of Wall Street interests. And that's really kind of the story here because I'm sure they're going to come up with some sort of reason why they couldn't honor trades that were coming in at that point, maybe because of liquidity or something like that the firm has or the amount of the amount that you have to invest personally to be able to hold the stocks as a trader, basically. There's a lot of things that I'm sure they're going to peddle as the reason why this didn't happen. But at the end of the day, they're owned by a hedge fund. The large amount of the money invested in Robinhood is through other hedge funds.
Yep.
So when your boss calls up and says, "Hey, what the fuck are all you people doing?" It's really hard not to say, "Oh God, like fuck you, Dad."
It's even worse than that. The hedge fund that controls Robinhood picked up all the shorts from bankrupt companies for cents on the dollar and realized that at the same time they held shorts and the stocks that the shorts were held against.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, that is a very advantageous position to be in when you control essentially the price of the stock, because you can sell straw man sell yourself to get these shorts off your books.
I mean, really what the problem here is, there have been reasons that trading has been suspended in total or specifically before.
9/12.
Yeah.
There was no trading.
Yeah. A Fed chair dies might be a reason that they suspend trading.
Yes. In honor of him, of course, not because that would have a huge and unbelievable effect on the market.
Not because you immediately need to have a name so people don't fucking panic.
Yes.
Yeah. What we ended up having here was not stock not being able to be traded because of any particular reason, like there was fraud in the company or anything like that, or it wasn't because of some sort of national emergency which closed the market. It was a seemingly unilateral decision by Robinhood to not just to restrict the buying of GameStop stock.
Yeah.
And the ability to sell out your position, which would have only helped the Wall Street banks and the hedge funds.
Yes.
Or sit on it, which could have meant that, you start going in that death spiral.
Yes.
And you have to sit around waiting for the exact moment when you're going to sell out.
But again, funny thing, if you control the stock or the access to, listen, Robinhood is you're buying fraction of stock.
No, that's another one. So Robinhood is like a trading service that you would use, like if you had an account with Merrill Lynch or Charles Schwab or something like that, like where you buy individual stocks. Like there's other ones that do like we'll give you 1/10 of a share of Disney because
I think Robinhood also
you can't afford a whole share of Disney stock, and one share of Disney stock doesn't really do you any good. But
you can people get together and you buy a stock. I'm pretty sure Robinhood does that.
They might have something like that available to them, but the idea was that they were going to be a zero fee trading site where you could like it's supposed to be like investors first market kind of thing. Like this is getting the appification of the stock market, like getting people who've never done it before into it by giving them a free platform on which to use.
What is the rule with anything that's free?
You are the product.
Yes. Yeah. We were teaching the market how average Americans deal with stock, and they did not like the lesson that they learned from that at all.
I will tell you this: if anyone listening to the sound of my voice is using Robinhood as their trading service right now, I would A, get out, and B, whether or not you had GameStop or AMC or any of these services that are at the center of this whole thing right now, I would still strongly consider joining in on the class action lawsuit against them.
Yeah,
because any restriction of your ability to freely buy and trade stock that happens to literally everyone on the service. That you might not buy GameStop, but the fact that you can't let me buy it is a problem. Because
next time it'll be the thing you want to buy.
Yeah. Who's telling me what I can and cannot buy at any certain point in time? Now, I understand the very unusual nature of this whole thing, but you can't get into a place where you are a zero fee trading company and then not prepare for something really weird to happen, because a lot of people get involved in your service and you can't handle it.
And listen, Merrill Lynch offers 99-cent trades.
Yeah.
You have to open an account with them because, again, something cheap means you are the product. And you're agreeing that your data is going to be shared with Merrill Lynch. And if the 99-cent trade fee is enough for you to not make a trade, you're trading in too small numbers, and you need to find the app that lets you join in with other people. But if I'm going to buy one stock of Disney at $158, saying $159 with the dollar fee, I'm okay with that. Or
Well,
if I'm
and-
buy 1,000.
And I mean, like,
Disney.
realistically, there's a couple different types of people in the market. There's the ones who buy things and then hold on to them.
Yeah.
Either this is going to get better over time, or this is a good stock regardless of what time it is. Johnson & Johnson is a historically great stock to own because,
We'll see if it continues.
well, I'm just saying historically has been a
Yeah.
great stock to own.
Their vaccine,
Coke.
looking like a little bit of lawsuits. But anyway, go ahead.
Coke is another one that, like, you know, it never really it goes through the roof, but it never drops either. It's just a very consistent, you know, it goes up and down a little bit, but it's not, you're never going to wake up in the morning and Coke's at zero. Like,
If you see that the secret formula got leaked, sell, because it's gonna be
Get
trouble.
out.
If Corey can get a 99-cent 2-liter of Coke, forget about it. It's done.
no, but I mean, like, at the, I would say that what this illuminated to a lot of people is that the people who work on Wall Street aren't that much smarter than the rest of us. The people who have access to information can be anywhere. The difference is that up until this moment, the American people, the retail investors, haven't had the opportunity to compete with Wall Street because they never had the same kind of financial latitude in which to do it. I could say until my face is blue, you know, like, oh, you got to buy whatever, GMC. Like, you got to buy whatever company is doing really well. And then, you know, I could maybe get a lot of people to hear that advice and then do it. Like, you know, I'm sure whenever Jim Cramer says something, the value of whatever he talks about goes up slightly just because he mentioned it. And people are going to go like, oh, I got to buy that thing he just said. You know, it goes up a little bit, but it never goes to, you know, $450 a share because he said it. Not a stock that was at 4 at one point, you know?
Also, Jim Cramer has said, I no way of independently verifying this, that he will never own a stock that he recommends because he recognizes that him recommending it causes the value to go up, and therefore it's the Jimmy Carter peanut farmer problem where it's like, to be above reproach, I will not own a stock I recommend because I don't want to be like, well, you know, this one I could really use a little boost. So if I just mention it and it boosts a bit and then I sell.
But I mean, like, you're either a shareholder who buys stock and holds it, or you're somebody who's constantly trading.
Yeah.
And, you know, obviously a little column A, a little column B is good for any investment portfolio. Like, you want to have your safe stocks there. But there's a lot of people who just buy stocks and then get dividends and don't worry about it and don't trade them. And, you know, maybe if you make a little money off something, like you get a good quarter from somebody, like you take a little bit of your Apple dividend and you put it into, so like, oh, maybe Tesla's going to blow up. And, you know, like you make these speculative buys. But the game has not been fair for a long time. It has gotten way worse in the last people. I think people thought when the housing crisis happened, that, well, clearly everything has been fixed at Wall Street because now we're on the other side of it. When in fact nothing got fixed. It only got worse. The high velocity trading is a real problem.
Yeah,
and
like market size swings because it's millions and millions.
The fact that we have more potential money in AI-based trading than we do in all the other retail investors in the world combined is a real bad sign, because if the computer just decides to go crazy on something and there's not a human being at somewhere along the line, then a huge amount of market capital could be invested in something that wasn't supposed to happen. And that could be, we could have a GameStop situation just because a computer went crazy, you know? Like,
so there is I read a story about the way that the AI works, and there's a possibility that in a few years at least, this AI, and again, it's not like a robot walking around. It's just a computer program that is doing way more calculations per second than a human brain can do, and it does something along the lines of, so the fourth quarter weather prediction has now come out for Southeast Asia, and what we see is that the rice there's going to be a heavy monsoon, which means that the rice market is going to plummet because it's going to ruin the rice crop. And 15 steps away from that is something.
yeah.
Butterfly effect means this will change. Sell 1 billion shares across 15 different companies because of something that may or may not happen because it's making a prediction something very far in
Well,
the future.
the other thing you got to keep in mind as well is that there's people who are there are programs that are being run in shadow, not actually connected to a stock market.
Yes. Yeah.
So before a product launches, you have to test it extensively.
Yes.
So right now, somewhere in a hedge fund, they're developing the next version of the AI, which will take over from this one when it's completed. But it's just basically like shadow trading on the market. Like it's not actually buying or selling stock, but it's basically acting like it's doing it so that it can learn all the...
How did I do? Okay.
Yeah.
Now
how do I improve? How do I...
Let me look back. What should I have done? Okay. Now,
what does one thing equal 15 different other places? You know, it's... Generally speaking, look at the stock market over the last... your lifetime, in 5-year increments. We never thought we'd get to $30,000, and we blew past that, and we're up in the we got up into the 35s. What?
30,000 shares.
No, I'm just saying overall stock, like Dow Jones overall, like 30, like 25 was an unbelievable. Like Obama hit 25.
Unprecedented.
It's never been like this. And then Trump it hit 30. I think it got up to 35ish.
Yeah. And then COVID.
You know, and these numbers are just like it was like 12 when you were when you were born, like, you know, and it was 12, 20, something, you know, somewhere in that general vicinity for most of your life, and then all of a sudden things just start going up and up and up, and the infiltration of AI models and things like that have made a dramatic impact on the stock market, so much to an extent that you can't ask the CEO at Google how the algorithm works, because they would never be able to tell you.
No.
There's so many different things that are involved in how it picks out what different things it's going to put there.
I know if you put this in, this comes out.
Yeah.
That's what we know.
Right. Like, but, you know, if the algorithm is, you know, fucking War and Peace 37 times in code. So.
Well, and the worrisome thing is there is someone developing a new AI, and the point at rollout won't be 100% this works great. It'll be like 97% of the time it works really well, 3% of the time, or 2% of the time it's okay, and 1% of the time it's catastrophic. And someone will say, what's the difference between catastrophic and best working conditions? $50 billion a year? Roll that sucker out. Because in the end, for them, 2012, 2008, 2005, 2002 all showed them you make big bets and you lose, and the government bails you out.
Yeah.
So what's it to us if we lose a ton of money over something that we shouldn't have done?
And I mean, like, the people who are, you know, other than the one that's bankrupt, you know, the other hedge funds will survive, and they'll get on the other side of this, and, you know, they'll make money. That's what they do. It's just a matter of, like, there needs to be a real serious look at how Wall Street works and how trading works, and how, you know, retail traders can work with hedge fund traders to be on an even level, even if the, you know, like, a retail trader can't hire, you know, quantitatives to run numbers all day. That's an advantage that Charles Schwab has that, you know, Chuck Schwab, the retail trader, doesn't have, you know, like.
Yeah. I was Chuck Schwab. Because isn't the commercials about Chuck? They're like, hey,
leave it to Chuck or something. I get
that.
Yeah.
But in the end, the questions that should be asked are going to be difficult ones. I was going to say the mistake. Do you know what the mistake, the one who went bankrupt, what they made?
What?
They wouldn't take public funds. So the City of Akron Teachers Union, they wouldn't take their money because they were making gregarious changes. Maybe it's not that they wouldn't take their money. They weren't offered the money because they had a high return, but that meant high risk. Yeah. If they had teachers unions, nurses unions, guaranteed they wouldn't be bankrupt. Because somebody, Ohio, New York, California, would be like, well, we can't let them go bankrupt. So what we're going to do is we're going to give you our teachers union money. You better bring that back.
The fact that nobody goes to jail for financial crime should be your clue to everything. Yeah. Like, whatever happened to Wells Fargo? Nothing? Oh, weird. Strange.
Well, they paid $3 billion in penalties, Corey.
Yeah, but they also made like $9 billion in profits, so it doesn't really.
No, they made $29 billion in
Yeah.
profits. They paid the $3 billion to $10 billion in fees.
Yeah,
and
they paid
problems.
they paid their tip. It's fine.
Yeah,
It's-
and that is exactly what it turns into. And you know what? If the CEO of Wells Fargo and the top leaders spend a little time in even Club Fed, just a little time in jail, it would make me, if I was one of those bankers, be like, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
We can make a little bit more money. I could go to jail. Or I could just retire, take my golden parachute, and leave this decision to the next guy.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do that.
Bye.
But speaking of doing a little time in jail, of course, in the next 2 weeks, well, there is no time in jail for him. But in the next 2 weeks, there will be a trial in the Senate.
1 week.
1 week. Well, 1 week.
February 8th, yeah.
There will be a trial. And good news, bad news situation for the American people and the former president, which every news outlet I listen to continues to refer to him as former President Trump.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It's weird. I don't know if you've seen this as well, but it'll be like in the same breath, President Obama, former President Trump, and President Biden. And I'm like, why is he the only one that gets the former thrown in there? But to be fair, Obama doesn't still think or claim that he is the president. So
I always like I never really said like President Trump on this podcast, mostly because I felt like I didn't need to.
Yeah.
I think we all knew that.
Yeah.
What we were living through.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like I'm going to start doing it now. You know, I'm just going to continue saying Trump because I don't really give a fuck about it.
Which also I really hate because that almost makes his brand stronger.
Yeah. I know. I've thought about that too, but
how about this? So Donald J is going on trial in the next 8 days.
Donnie boy.
You know which Donald we're talking about. And bit of a problem. All his lawyers quit.
Yeah.
Apparently, according to the news
I mean, some of
stories.
them had mutual partings of ways, and some of them had differences in how we
Corey,
planned on going forward with our trial strategy.
Every relationship I've ever been in has been a mutual decision by both parties to walk away from it. Occasionally, it has, been maybe a little leaning one way or the other, and I sat in a shower crying with my clothes on.
Maybe a third party got involved.
Maybe there was a third party involved at some point. But nonetheless, there was a parting of ways between Trump and his attorneys, and the news that is breaking is just generally that Trump is going to continue or wants to continue the argument that the election was stolen and therefore his actions on the 6th were not illegal. While all of his trial counsel were saying, we are going to win on this is unconstitutional.
Yeah.
Let's just keep going that way.
Oh,
and
and
he was like, no, fuck it. Say the trial's fine and I deserve to win.
The Republicans gave him the out.
Yes.
Yeah. There was already a vote. 45 Republicans said that the trial going forward is unconstitutional because Trump's no longer in office. So, ball game, right? No, because Trump is deciding to make this as difficult as humanly possible for those 45 people. And, do you get another 7 of them, 8 of them?
8, yeah.
8 of those people to break off and convict? Probably not.
Wait. Because only 5 came over, right?
Yeah.
12 more, because you need 17.
Okay, yeah. Sorry.
But do you get 12? Maybe.
I mean, it's 1 in 4 of the people who remain, basically.
But 1 in 3 of them have an election coming up in 2 years.
I'll come back to this point. I don't understand why, if you were a Republican who is thinking about maybe running for president in 2024 or running for president at any time in the future or running for any office associated with a federal government of some kind.
The one you currently have.
Why would you want Trump in the one? It's just like, yeah, this fucking bear was a really bad babysitter, but I think we should keep him around in case we want him to babysit again. Don't let him go too far because he is a babysitter.
Listen, he was terrible, but the kids loved him. So what we need to do is
the kids that survived loved him.
Yeah, we need to keep him around so they think maybe he'll be the babysitter again, and then they'll be okay with us being the parents until then.
Right.
And we have to keep people like Marjorie Taylor Greene happy because otherwise, there's an upend the whole problem.
Otherwise, she's gonna say something really fucking crazy.
well, I want to talk about her in a second. But in the end, what we're doing is we're coming up on a trial where he is now, and of course, he was without lawyers for 2 days, and then he hired a bunch of new lawyers who are not like his old lawyers, but they're like his old lawyers, which is to say, they're all pushing
being
conspiracies.
sued by Dominion.
Yeah, they're pushing conspiracies of their own. They're now putting themselves in position to be sued by Dominion because I'm guaranteeing you that the voting machine fraud was going to come up in the trial.
Yeah.
And he's putting himself in the position to be impeached. And it almost makes me think, did somebody tell him, no president's been impeached twice. If you really want to be in the history books, this is the way to.
Yeah.
Your wall didn't get built. You didn't drain the swamp. Nothing you promised came through.
Listen.
But,
Listen. If you get convicted in the Senate, you know how much money it's going to save you on having to build a presidential library? I mean, you wouldn't be able to fuck the contractors because people are looking. There's nothing, you would be.
It's got to be on the up and up, the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, and that's just going to cost a ton of money.
Yeah. Also,
have you seen what land looks like out in this?
Americans are super dumb. And if you say you might run for president again, they'll probably still give you money. We'll put it in the PAC. We'll pay you for the next 30 years to just give speeches. It'll be great.
I just can't. If I'm Marco Rubio,
yeah.
if I'm Ted Cruz, I'm Josh Hawley, I'm, Lindsey Graham. These are people who have or will run for president again.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say to myself, I'm Marco Rubio. I can't go to sleep at night saying, oh, well, in 2024, people are really going to be finding the cool and docile tones of a Marco Rubio really exciting. And they're going to vote for that like crazy. And they're going to say, forget this Trump guy. I mean, he was president 3 years ago, whatever. No,
yeah.
I'm not going to vote for him again. And you're making a mistake because the Republican Party right now, unless they do something to exorcise themselves of the demon that is Trump, are going to find themselves in a position that anyone who is not Trump does not get votes.
Yes.
And the people who are like Trump right now are, God, I hate to say this because there's only one Trump. There's only one person like that. There's only one. One person with that alchemy that makes him so Teflon and so like nobody else can escape the horde better than Trump can.
There is
for whatever reason.
If I was a betting man and I said there's one person who benefits from, let's keep this going as crazy as possible. There is one person.
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Well, no. Ted Cruz, but only his character on My Cartoon President.
Well,
not
yeah,
the actual guy. Yeah. And I do want to talk about Margaret Taylor Greene. One thing first. The funniest story of the week, also the one that is just so American it hurts. The Insurrectionist, which you see pictured here. About
wait a minute, what happened?
About 70. There was an insurrection at the Capitol. They took it over, and they're all the number one rule, Corey. I don't know if you've heard this anywhere. Is if you're gonna have an insurrection, you have to win because otherwise it's against the law. Yeah. They're gonna put you in jail.
It's only constitutionally protected if you win.
And now about 80 of them have been arrested.
Yeah.
And upon some research, it turns out 10% of them, a little over that because it's about 10 of the 80, didn't vote. And some of them weren't even registered to vote.
Yeah.
So their battle cry was stop the steal. But there's a good chance that a vast majority of those people were not actually involved in the election whatsoever.
I'll do you one better. Because where do all these people come from? Do any of these 80 votes really mean anything in the grand scheme of things? There were a lot of people who didn't go to the Capitol and feel the same way and would be putting Stop the Steal on their Facebook page. And I bet you if we expand the universe to include those people as well, we will find that a good probably like 50-60% of them, I would imagine, didn't vote.
Yeah.
I feel like
didn't vote because you know what? Trump's got this wrapped up. I don't even want to get involved.
Or I vote in a state that doesn't, I'm a California Republican. There is no chance that my vote matters. Some people have valid reasons for not wanting to go through the process. I understand. I would always say, if you're a smart person, you should vote. If you're a dumb person, stay home. But
I cannot stress that enough. Just for everyone out there. If you are listening to the sound of my voice and you agree with me, you should vote every single election. If you don't agree with me, and I would say and or, but I'm just going to say and you're dumb because I think those things they're not mutually exclusive. You have to be both. You don't listen and you're dumb.
If Marjorie Taylor Greene speaks to you not only as a politician but a sex symbol, then perhaps you shouldn't vote.
Okay, wait, let's not go that far. We've already discussed. I have some
Short
issues.
blonde. I got
Short,
issues.
Blonde, crazy. Yes, yeah. I won't go that far. But if you are dumb and unpolitically sophisticated or unwilling to educate yourself, don't vote.
Yeah.
And I told someone that this week directly. I also, by the way, when I was thinking about it in between me telling you that, I also said I want to do a case study on you because you're the reason that I should get 100 votes for every one average person, and or it should be proportional due to taking a test, i.e. let's take 1,000 question test. If I get 1,000 and you get one, then I should get 1,000 more votes than you. And also that there should be negative points on this test. And if you answer so incorrectly that it's the teacher at the end of Billy Madison.
When was America founded? Last Tuesday.
Then-
Now you're done.
Not only do you not get to vote, but then everyone whose curve you have broken with your dumb responses should get bonus votes on top of that. And what I'm really planning on is that at some point that you and I basically control
all the
54 electoral votes. And everyone between the Mississippi and the Atlantic, south of the Mason-Dixon, just doesn't vote.
I would love nothing more than, much like, in Monopoly, you buy a property and then you buy houses and then you get the hotel. I would like that if you score really well on the test, rather than getting 1,000 votes, you just get one electoral vote. Like,
I can't complain with that
just
at
like
all.
40 of California's electoral votes are up in the air based off of the results of the election, and then obviously one is held by Corey, one is held by
To be fair, though,
one is held by Jim Stevens, who lives in Pacoima.
I will just tell you, the hotel is a sucker's bet. Here's my secret piece of Monopoly for you. Four houses always is better than one hotel, no matter what the property is, except for the first two properties on the board. Didn't know that, did you? Yeah. Now, I've watched 3 Monopoly documentaries, and what I took from it is no professional Monopoly player ever uses hotels. It's always houses, because they pay better.
Yeah.
So there you go. And speaking of other things that don't matter, Marjorie Taylor Greene is fucking bonkers. And we mentioned her earlier. I guess she does matter only in so much as she may get censured.
She is one of 438 members of Congress.
She's one of the important people, I suppose. Yes. McCarthy is using her to spite Nancy Pelosi, and it may end up costing him very greatly. Also,
he's playing this game of like, I want to keep her around, but I also want to keep her at arm's length.
Yes. Yeah. By the way, much like I would do if I was dating her. Like, I want her around. I just don't want my friends to know that I'm dating her because, like, things are amazing when we're by ourselves. But then if I have to, like, everything she says, I have to look at people and just be like, she didn't actually think that.
Find yourself saying to her at the end of the night, it's just like, no. I want to go out to dinner with you, but I find that the Chinese places that nobody goes to are the best ones.
Yes. Yeah. Well, there's no reason I want to drive 4 hours to go to dinner.
And then she says something racist about Chinese people, and you're just like,
hey. Yeah. But the sex is amazing.
I gotta go, Lemon. She's chained to my radiator right now.
Yes. That is it. But so she now I'm just thinking of man. She's fucking bonkers. And so I saw an interview with a woman she spoke to. It was a mother of a Sandy Hook victim.
Yeah.
And basically they agreed to keep it confidential, but then Marjorie Taylor Greene told her, like, well, you can tell people we talked and your feelings coming out of the talk. I don't mind that. And the mother said, I'm not going to say anything about what we said, but here's what I'm going to do. And she like turns to the camera and is like, I would just wish that Representative Taylor Greene would tell the American people what she told me, which tells me she does not believe any of this shit that she's spouting.
No.
Just she realized early on she had some ambition. She realized that would get her elected. She probably had a group of like 30 or 40 friends and realized when I say this shit, they cheer. If I can do that for 10,000 people, I can win an election. And it worked. And she got in. And now she's in that, oh shit. So it might get me censured and kicked out of Congress. But if I stop saying it or I apologize for saying it, I won't get reelected. So what do you do? What do you do?
I think that a lot of these people who get elected to Congress find themselves in more of what does my caucus think than what do I think? Because I feel like if you went up to members of Congress, like if you knew them, like
yes. Yeah.
calling up my buddy, the member of Congress,
yeah,
and you hit them with the hypothetical of like, Do you think that we should separate children from their parents and put them in cages and not feed them properly and keep them out of sunlight and all that sort of stuff? Like, reasonable people would say, no, of course not. That sounds horrible. That sounds like the worst thing that we could possibly do.
They would say,
and then when it comes to the Republican Party wants this, it's just like, yeah, well, they shouldn't even get blankets.
Yeah, they would. Those members of Congress would say, I would hate if that happened to little.
What's my kid's
name? Oh, Billy Jr. Yeah, I'd hate that happened to Billy Jr. His name, he's a junior. You know, okay. Yeah. Well, they don't raise their own kids, so.
What's my kid's name? Ted Cruz Jr. Okay.
Yeah. Poor fucking kid. Can you imagine? Not only
all the disadvantages in the world.
Those genes, that father, and the name. Oh my God. Poor kid. Anyway.
Probably don't even have that special something that Ted Cruz has.
Crazy. that exquisite mix of being not from the United States, also not from Cuba, and not from Canada. Really, a man from nowhere,
and not from Texas.
Yes, yeah.
I got cowboy boots though.
So I don't want to talk really anymore about her. We're going to talk about her a lot. What I really want to talk about is.
Well, I would just like to
go ahead.
Make one point real quick on Marjorie Taylor Greene. To everyone who is now just discovering that she has said crazy shit on the internet before. Welcome. I don't know what else to tell you. I'm sure one day we're going to become, if we became super famous and well known, then there's going to be a lot of people who's come back on old episodes of the podcast and be like, look at this crazy shit that Corey said. And
really?
It'll become
that Corey said.
Well,
that's going to be the discussion.
Well, I was picking the two of us, one of the two of us that was going to be famous. So like, nobody.
I think your issue is going to be like, you still hang out with this guy, the one guillotines on the Capitol, that guy, like. Listen,
we can agree to disagree.
He put a little justification. It said not my thoughts. He even said it.
He said thoughts of not of Corey. Yeah, it's good enough for me. What else does he need to say? Not it in the first place? No, thank you. No, but I mean, like, anybody who was watching the campaign as it was going along would see a Marjorie Taylor Greene story about something she said or something that she did. And I know these things. I know she's an awful, despicable person. Like, this is not news to me. I find it funny that people were just like, there's gambling in this house. like
yeah, it reminds me of in like all those 20s movies and shows where the cop is running the whorehouse. And then,
what do you mean these college students are drinking? Are any of you 21?
The public safety officer. Listen, I smelled weed from the hallway. Your eyes are very bloodshot. Everyone here seems to be laid back and very chill. I don't see any weed though, so I'm just not going to write you a citation.
That's my favorite officer story. For anyone who doesn't know. I got busted from public safety for a room that smelled like weed, and they were being very charitable and writing me up for that thing, because if they would have looked down, which I'm sure they did, you would have seen a huge pile of weed on the table.
Pre-broken, just ready to be wrapped.
So he literally walked in the room. He's just like, probably looks at it. And he's just like, it smells like weed in here. I'm gonna write you a ticket for smelling like weed.
Yeah, it reminds me of the meme of like.
I should have. You know what though? I should have taken that advantage. I should have taken his the advantage of him letting me cop out of it and just be like, "Excuse me, what does smells like weed mean? I want this thing rescinded."
How do you know what weed smells like?
How do you write a ticket for smelling like weed but not actually finding the evidence of the crime?
Maybe it was my neighbor. I don't know. But
and maybe it was for many years of people smoking weed in these dorms.
It reminds me of the meme of like the cop or the public safety officer at the door, but it's shot from the angle of the back, and there's just like beer bottles stacked up behind everything. But from the angle of the door, you can't see anything. And they're like, "No alcohol here, officer. I don't know what to tell you. Sorry about it." Yeah, all right.
A party, you say? Here on this floor?
Look at us. We are having a study night, as you can clearly see from the open books, and then no beer bottles. Yeah.
Don't you see my studying monocle?
But yeah, we talked about Marjorie Taylor Greene probably back in like August or September, where she was gaining traction nationally, because she was going to win her race once she got the primary. She was going to win her race in a landslide. Didn't really matter. And we were just like, bitch is crazy. All right. She looks crazy. Rob would date her. She's definitely crazy.
That's how crazy she is.
What are you gonna do? But the more interesting race, I think, is one that we brought up last week, which is Matt Talley in the race for the first. And Andy Harris, also, by the way, batshit crazy. He is looking more like Marjorie Taylor Greene every day that I see him.
Not literally, though.
I mean, not literally. He's not as attractive. I wouldn't date Andy
Rob's
Harris.
not going to date Andy Harris. Let's not.
But, his whole, I took a gun to Congress, and he's going to stand strong on the, everything that Trump wants.
Yeah.
I'm expecting him to go pay fealty like McCarthy did at some point.
Did you see the picture of McCarthy, by the way? Like, Trump standing there with the thumbs up, and, McCarthy's, broken.
Hi, guys. Yeah, I do what I got to do. Almost a porn reference. I won't make that. Nonetheless, so we talked about Matt Talley, flip the first. I'm all for flipping the first. And then this week, a story came out that he won't be the only Democratic candidate running in the first because Heather Majeur is also going to run in the first. And you guys may not recognize that name. I'm trying to remember. We've been doing this podcast a long time. I don't know if we talked about her back in Maryland.
I'm sure we did.
I can't remember her run for governor and what year that was.
Wasn't that the first Hogan year? No. That was Anthony Brown.
Yes.
It was the first Hogan year.
Yes.
It must have been the second one. Then.
I was still actively involved in politics. I remember that because I was working for the Democratic Party and I met her several times. And I think that she would be a good governor for Maryland. What she wouldn't necessarily be.
I think there was a little while there where she was thinking about running for mayor of Baltimore, too.
I think so. Or she did run for mayor. Maybe she ran the same year that we interviewed all the candidates for mayor.
No, I think that was... She didn't actually run. She just thought about it. Yeah.
Maybe she would have to move into the city, and she wasn't willing to do that. But she was willing to move into District 1 so she could run against Andy, which she's done now. And now she's announced she's going to run against Andy. And, we know Matt Talley personally, so I think that we have a connection to that race. And I say this not because of that personal connection, but because of the overarching issue. Democrats, you have such an opportunity right now. The Republican Party is about to combust. Both my parents were essentially Tea Partiers, even though neither one of them would admit they were Tea Partiers. But both of them aren't pushing Trump. Both of them aren't pushing Trump. That means that even the craziness of this Tea Party has now been surpassed by the Trumpers, and you're splitting that vote. There is a good possibility that the primaries of 2022 are going to feature, just like the Tea Party did, a Trumper versus a moderate, and that whoever loses, likely if the Trumper loses, they will also run as a third party just to stay into the end. Democrats, we have a chance. I don't say we because I'm not a fucking Democrat, but people on the left, we have a chance to really make an indent in the Senate and in the House. But when I see races like this one, where a Democratic stalwart is now jumping into a very contested race, and I say to myself, if I was in the district, which technically I still am a resident of Maryland and a voter, if I was going to vote for somebody in District 1, do I vote for the Democratic stalwart, who has been in politics for the last 20 years and represents everything about the Democratic Party? Or do I try to attract somebody new into this race?
Look at every single time Maryland has gotten itself a Republican governor. The way that we got there was because the Democratic Party of Maryland said themselves, we got this can't-miss candidate for governor. Mm-hmm. Let's run them, and then never actually let them run.
Kathleen
Kennedy Townsend, Anthony Brown. These are both... Anthony Brown didn't start realistically campaigning until the week before. Yep. I did not see him on the news. I did not see him standing on the side of a road, giving a press conference. Even fucking Thuru Vigaraja was driving around with a fucking lectern in his car.
Now, to be fair, he was also drunk, and he was asking cops why they were pulling him over. Do they know who he is?
Why are you letting my girlfriend walk home?
I still paid her for another 3 hours. And I know people are going to say, what about Martin O'Malley? No one wanted Martin to run for governor. The party certainly did not want
Martin wanted Martin to run for
Yes, and much like Martin wanted Martin to run for mayor, and he became mayor, and then he wanted to run for
and
governor.
nobody wanted that either.
Well,
Much like nobody wanted him to run for president either, and he did that too. Like,
thank God he didn't win. But I mean, in the end,
his long streak of doing things people don't want him to do and winning.
We can't point to him as an example because he essentially is the exception that proves the rule. Democrats, you keep putting up these party people, and they keep losing. And I'm reminded of the newsroom. If Democrats are so smart, why do they lose so goddamn always? And it's because you do shit like this. Because you have moderate Republicans on the outside saying, all right, Andy Harris is clearly this crazy Trump guy, and I can't vote for him. Who would I rather vote for? The Democrat, who is essentially Nancy Pelosi, or, well, by the way, will be identified with Nancy Pelosi no matter what. She'll be identified with AOC, all of the Democratic people. Or do I vote for
the boogeyman part of the Democratic Party?
Yes, the boogeyman part of the party, or the boogeywoman part of the party.
Yeah.
A woman. Anyway, or the guy who...
Because it's just so funny that you can be compared to both AOC and Nancy Pelosi despite the fact that those two are so goddamn different.
So different. Could not be more different.
She's going to be another Pelosi and an AOC combined. It's just like, well, which parts of which? I really need to know.
She's closer in age to Pelosi, but she's like socially like AOC, but fiscally like Pelosi. So, anyway, if I'm a moderate conservative, do I vote for her, the party person?
Yeah.
Or do I vote for, again, the guy who's wearing a hat and a jacket and a t-shirt, who's very much like, and I say this not ideologically, but maybe superficially, kind of that Trump personality, who's like, I'm going to shake things up. I'm going to do things different. It's new blood. I'm not the Democrat you know. I'm not the guy who's been running the state for the last 30 years, which, by the way, a huge complaint from a lot of Republicans is how they've run the state. No, this is a new guy. He's going to bring new ideas, new blood. Even if I didn't know him and I saw that these two are running, I would probably just be like, yeah, you're doing a great job. Run for governor at some point, I guess.
Yeah.
But the first is going to be a conservative district that you're going to have to, you don't have to be conservative idealized. You have to be different from the Democrats. The last person who put in a challenge was different. Cradaville won. He was just like, I'm not a Democrat. I'm a Democrat, but
he was like a Joe Manchin type. Yeah. Democrat, but
And you know what?
Democrat, but desperately wants to keep that seat.
Desperately wants to be a judge, so I'm going to run for 2 years. Anyway, I just think...
Oh, you better hope you never find him and you find yourself in his court again.
I guess not. But I think what it comes down to is the Democrats are going to use this opportunity to implode their own party, eat their own, and lose these seats that they should win. And we know more about Maryland because we were involved in the politics there, but I see that happening everywhere.
Yeah.
It's just something that's going to happen because the Democrats lose so goddamn always, and we can't fucking help it.
Yeah. It's the most upsetting thing to me is that the Democrats are going to get fucking hammered in 2022 when the congressional races come up again. And whether or not they get hammered because they do it to themselves or because they get out of the way and let the Republicans
Do it to
torpedo themselves,
Yep.
like it's half a dozen of one, 12 of another. I totally got that fucking wrong. What is that expression?
6 of one, half dozen.
There
of
it
another.
is.
There you go. Yeah.
COVID.
Yes.
So we're going to go through this quick because there's not a whole lot that you need to know other than the fact that it's not over yet. It's not done. It's not even close to being done. Sure, there are vaccines out there. Sure, there are people who are getting vaccinated. Rachel got her first dose of the vaccine here a week ago. It is... I looked yesterday. So anyone who has Citizen, it's an app that tells you like when there's crime and shit like that in your area.
Yeah. Which everyone should have if you
It's a nice app to know. They also do daily COVID updates. And I got a notification that said cases are dropping, restrictions have been lessened or whatever. And I opened it up, and that day in LA, I think it was 2 days ago, 18,000 cases, which is the same amount of cases, roughly, that we were having going up until Christmas when the Thanksgiving surge
And we
first
were
hit.
freaking the fuck out.
And we were like,
about it.
oh my God, almost 20,000 cases. What the fuck are we going to do?
Yeah.
And then obviously it got way worse, but has, true to form, dropped. But we're still at this point. This is something we were saying at the very beginning. Like, we shut down. There were all these cases, this huge spike. And then we opened back up. And like when the spike was going down, and then all of a sudden, as we started going back out, it got even higher than it was when it first spiked. So
well, then we shut down again, Corey, and then it started coming down again.
And then
so
we
we reopened again.
Yeah.
And it spiked up even higher.
I just don't like
It's almost as if there was a pattern. I wish I could see the pattern.
It's almost like you're getting sued by somebody, and then right when it's about to get to in front of a judge, we open back up instead. Like, that's at least that's the California way. That's what it seems like to me.
Or you want to do the responsible thing, and then right when you're worried about losing an election, you do the irresponsible thing. And as I mentioned in the opening, 4 people who I know personally and would call friends, except for not now, who I see traveling around the country, multiple cities on multiple flights, internationally in some cases. Fuck you guys. You're the fucking problem. I know at least one of you actually does listen to the podcast, so if you think this is you, it's absolutely fucking you, and you're the fucking problem. Like, I want this to be over too. Corey wants this to be over. We want to be done with all of this. And the fact that people can't just fucking... It's been a year. I get it. It's been a year. I'm going insane. But we got to just buckle down and get the fuck through it. God damn it.
The part that gets me, though, you know what? And I hate the people who are not following the rules, who are doing whatever the fuck they want. But there's almost a part of it that I understand how they could get to that point where they can think, "Oh, fuck it,"
I mean, I understand.
No, and I'm not saying I don't think less of them. I'm just saying, like, I get how they can get to that point.
Yes.
And I think so much of this was the fact that we never took it seriously from the very beginning, and you just can't, put the ketchup back in the tube. Like, there's no way to do that. Like, if right when it hit our shores, we got really fucking serious about testing and contact tracing and making sure that we knew how things transmitted.
Yeah.
This past weekend was virtual Sundance because there's no Sundance this year because of COVID. And literally a year ago at this time, I was thinking about, maybe I could go to Park City for the weekend. Maybe I'll get a hotel in Salt Lake City. Just go for the weekend, drive on down, go to some parties, meet some people, blah, 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 come back to LA. I was shooting a movie at that time, so it would have had to have been a weekend trip. But, people were getting COVID at Sundance. It was before people knew
what it was.
Yep. I mean, like, in the U.S., like, we didn't think it had hit our shores yet, but it had hit people in L.A. who brought it to Utah or, where in the country where they went to Utah and brought it to L.A. Like, there's a lot of people who I know got sick after they went to Sundance. So, I get it. We all wanted to be... there's so many times where I'm like, fuck it, I'm just going to Vegas. I just need to, like, physically be in another place.
Yes.
But I don't do it because I keep seeing myself. It's the responsible actions now that will pay off benefits later, because if I don't get sick, then maybe I don't get other people sick, and maybe people don't die.
Yep.
And you have to start thinking about it less in terms of, like, I know a lot of people are like, well, I'm young and healthy, so if I get it, I'll be fine.
Yep.
Great. But what about, the 80-year-old who works at the deli that you go to every weekend? Like, that's...
There was a story in the LA Times.
Or it's like, I wear a mask. Why not,
a story in the LA Times. Every restaurant that does outdoor dining was reopened in LA, and they were all packed this weekend. And we're sacrificing our working class so that people who are slightly above or want to pretend they're not in the working class for a night can go do that. Because who knows how many cases are going to come out of this weekend, and we're going to see another huge spike. 450,000 people are dead. 450,000 people are dead.
Yeah.
More people have died from COVID in the United States than died in Europe and in the Pacific during World War II. 450,000 people are dead. Trump is to blame for that. Congress is to blame for that. Biden is slowly getting on my shit list of starting to be to blame for that as well. The vaccine makers share some blame for that, I'm sure. There's a lot of blame to go around. But you who is traveling, you who is setting a bad example for other people, because when I see you traveling, my first instinct is, we could go to Vegas. We could go to Vegas for the weekend. It'll be fine. You are the problem. And 450,000 dead is on your head because Corey and I have done fucking nothing for a year. Just fucking locked down for a year. And we all want to do things. We want to go on vacation. We want to go different places. We want to. We don't.
To me, part of the problem, I think, is that we all break the rules a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
I think, like, obviously, Rob is in the same room as me right now. We're separated, and we keep distance when we can and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But, he's part of my extended bubble here.
The bubble.
He's part of my bubble.
We're in the bubble.
But, like, traditionally, you would think of the bubble as just the people who live in your home. Like, not people outside of your home.
If this had lasted 3 weeks, I think we could have followed that rule and been fine.
Right.
But the bubble gets bigger. I would say the bubble gets bigger the longer we go along, but only because we bring other people along to our line of thinking. The speed limit is the speed limit, and if you're not going to follow it, you're out of the bubble. That's it.
Yeah.
You can be in the bubble if you follow the speed limit. Okay. So, which is an ingenious thing. I think we talked about that in a previous episode.
Yeah.
But I think it's natural that you have to add people in so long as they agree to the rules.
Well, if you have nobody, you're just going crazy right now, and that's the. I know people who are like literally locked in with nobody else to deal with, and it's the worst. And I don't know. If everyone took it more seriously, then we could all get out of quicker. We could all, and there's promising things that are being discussed as benchmarks for the Biden. Like just in the past week, the Biden administration bought 400 million new vaccines, which should be enough to get both doses of the vaccine to basically everyone in America.
Yeah, everyone who's left. Anyway.
And there's talks of by spring, if you want it, you can get it. By the end of the summer, we should have everyone vaccinated.
Yep.
Those are great. Would very much like that to be the case, but we all need to live till that point. We all need to collectively decide to live up until that point.
Also on my shit list are all the governors because 1,000 doses a day nationwide are being wasted.
Yeah.
Because the vaccine rollout has been fucked from day one. And I read
and everywhere too. I mean this is beyond a like obviously Gavin Newsom we've talked about fucking things up. Andrew Cuomo has been fucking up the vaccine rollout. Ron DeSantis in Florida. There's a Republican. Like there's everywhere. Is people fucking up the
Hogan, fuck him too, and all of them.
And I mean, like some of them are not. Like Hogan definitely didn't do everything right, but he's done
double fuck.
Right,
yes,
he's done better than some. But also part of the problem is that like if you don't have the supply chain, then you really can't. It would be so much easier for these governors if they just had all the vaccine that they needed to vaccinate everyone in the state, and then they're just like, everyone come right now, get your vaccine. Like, the fact that it's got to be staged.
Yeah, no, if there was a federal stockpile, and they were like, hey, we want reliable deliveries of 1,000 a day, we can give out 1,000 a day, and then we're just going to make a list.
Yeah.
People start showing up, 1,000 a day. Give them to them. I read a story about vaccine hunters who are essentially people who sit and wait outside of a pharmacy. Yeah. Just to see if they have people didn't show up for their appointments and they have ones left over. That should not be a thing. Florida
was giving them away to anyone who was 65, whether or not they were a resident or not. So there were people in LA. There was a very popular private jet shuttle was going from LA to Florida so that 65-year-old people here could just get their vaccine there. Now, you're 65. You're going to be getting it here at some point sooner rather than later.
But
so
why do you sooner there?
Yeah, but
I
mean,
money.
like, right. But I mean, like, it's just like, I don't know, fucking ridiculous.
Who's not getting it though? It's the grandmother of the woman who's at the checkout. Yeah. That you're going to, or the waitress, or any number of other people you come in contact with.
I mean, personally speaking, I know being elderly is high risk, and I don't want to take that away from them. But I think that a major concern of everyone right now is the children in the schools. Mm-hmm. So maybe let's hurry up on the teachers so we can get that part of our because again, talking about the lower risk associated, children are not huge risk of dying from this. There are some cases of children dying, but if you have the teachers vaccinated, then at the very least you're keeping the highest risk people in that particular situation protected from the virus, and we can get these kids back to school. Which I wouldn't even imagine what I would be as a kid right now at home. Yeah.
Well, I mean, in the 90s, we would have been fucked. So we're going to call in. Everybody get on a call. Here we go.
Conference
You're 7
call at
years
8
old.
a.m. Yeah.
I went to a private school, though, so I probably would have still been in school.
Corey Baker checking in.
There's a bunch of people protesting at Dodger Stadium, anti-vaxxers who don't believe in modern science and the securities of it. And I know the irony with which I say this, and I'm going to say it anyway, and the views I express are mine and mine alone, and not those of Corey or the podcast. But if I had a car, because I don't own a car, and therefore I'm not capable of doing this thing that I am talking about completely hypothetically, and that thing is, of course, running down the protesters who are outside of the Vax clinic, and then interceding between them and the ambulance, because I would not want any sort of injections or
medical
oxygen.
technology.
I don't want medicine to be used for them after I've hit them repeatedly with my car out of respect for their wishes.
Look at the mangled bunny. It's like, it's in God's hands now.
It's Jesus. Nature will cure this. If you're meant to survive, nature will take care of it. And
I'm sure there's some leaves you can rub on yourself somewhere around here.
I got a crystal in my car. Hang on, I got a crystal somewhere here. I mean that wholeheartedly.
Quickly get this man some aromatherapy.
If you're standing if you don't believe in vaccines, that's fine. That's fine. You're crazy and dumb, and we're better off if COVID kills you because you'll take yourself out of the gene pool. God, let's hope you haven't procreated yet, because I don't want those genes to be passed on. But if you're going to stand in the road, and I didn't say this about anybody else, because I think there are many justified reasons to stand in the road and draw attention to the issue.
Yeah.
Being anti-vax is not one of them. And you should be hit by a car, and you should be refused medical treatment because that's your personal belief. And you should be taken out of the gene pool. Do not interfere with other people's ability to stop a deadly virus from spreading through our city and our state and our country. You fucking morons. I am really getting sick of playing stupid or selfish, because in the end result, what I'm learning is
Stupid is winning a lot.
they're all stupid, and everyone who's left is fucking selfish. So
I just think it's always interesting when you see the LAPD tweet where it's just like, it didn't slow down the vaccination. They didn't block the gates. They didn't do this, when there's many reports saying the exact opposite of that.
Yeah.
And then, rewind to people protesting in front of Garcetti's house because they thought he might get some sort of appointment in the Biden administration and getting tear gas shot at them, and a peaceful protest of 20 people meeting 60 officers, or any of the protests that happened at any point during the course of this last year where LAPD were hanging out the side of windows firing on people.
And note, my position was entirely different for them, because those are important things, and your nonsensical bullshit is not important. And when I restart my career, I mean, if I started a career as a serial killer, I would make my list. All of those people on social media who have been posting QAnon and anti-vax and all of those things. In fact, maybe that'll be my next book. A completely fictional and hypothetical account of a killer who kills all of the anti-vaxxers.
Faux part 2. Anyway, we have one last thing. Let's make it snappy because we're running
super long.
Predictably long again.
Yeah, hey, what thing is this for?
For Sportsball.
Oh, yeah.
So, we are less than a week away from the Super Bowl. We've had a couple positive cases of COVID from the Chiefs players, but so far it seems like no big names have been involved here.
Yes.
So
no Mahomes. There's no Mahomes.
No Mahomes, no Tyreek Hills or anything like that, or Tom Brady's.
Although God, let's hope. I mean, if there is a God, Tom Brady's name will be on
I
that.
just imagine that Tom Brady gets it. He sheds his skin and just plays with the husk underneath. You know?
Are you saying he's a lizard person? Is that what you're saying? Because I could get behind that. That actually makes more sense than QAnon.
All I'm saying is he's too traditionally good looking to have stayed this good looking for so long. That's all.
When we said we wanted things back to normal, we did not mean Tom Brady in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, so they'll be playing in front of their home crowd in Tampa. Do you have a pick of where you think where would you put your money on this game? I guess I would say.
I think everything in my body says not Tom Brady, just because personally speaking, I don't want Tom Brady to win.
Yeah.
I think part of me also says the AFC is a much tougher conference, or has seemed to be much tougher. So almost like the survivor of that seems to be the tougher person, the tougher team coming in. But then on the other hand, the logical part of my brain says you can almost never put money against Tom.
Yeah.
Tom is Tom. So
I feel
advantage Tom too. So
I feel a similar way in so much as traditionally, anytime I've really fucked myself with a sports bet, I end up looking at the bet after the game is over with, and then I say to myself something like, "Why the fuck did I ever think that this person was going to be? Why did I ever think that Andy Dalton was going to beat Tom Brady? Like."
I went with emotion over logic.
I was just so sure that, the Tom Brady had no chance, and then all of a sudden he can't,
Well, you wanted it.
I wanted
Tom
that
Brady
to be the game.
no
Yeah.
chance. Yeah, but he's fucking Tom Brady, so.
But I do, I really do think if you look at it, Mahomes is the more talented quarterback.
Yep.
The Chiefs have the more talented skill position players.
If everybody's left by the time they get to the Super Bowl.
There's some, there's an injury to the Chiefs line, which is not great, but that always makes bigger waves than it seems like it would. And the Bucks have a better defense, so it's kind of it's gonna be tough. If it was me and I was putting money on it, I would like to go with the under, or go with the Bucks as the underdog, mostly because I'd be more worried about this game ending as a 2-point score rather than the Chiefs winning by 30. I think that there's more of a chance that this comes down to a field goal at the end than it does the Chiefs routing them. Even though there have been a lot of routes in the history of the Super Bowl, I just feel like this one will remain close and maybe low scoring. So
I was going to say, so the point spread as of this morning was Chiefs by -3.
Oh, it dropped.
Yes.
Yeah. So you could have had 3.5 earlier this week. So that would have given you an extra half point of buffer.
Yeah.
In that situation.
And the over/under is 56 points, which I think is generous.
I'm going under on that one.
Yeah.
I mean, 23 game hypothetically gets you.
Yeah.
But I'm more inclined to think it's going to be like a 2017, 17-14 as opposed to a 35 to 32 or something like that,
I was going to say it'll either be 20 to 14, something like that, or it'll be 56 to 53, where just like both quarterbacks decide they're going to put on an all-star show.
Something tells me you'll know pretty early on whether or not you're going to cover that under bet.
Yeah.
Or that over bet. Like that one will become pretty obvious.
But the -3, the by 3, a field goal.
Yeah, I mean, a field goal is a push if you're going 3 exactly.
Yeah.
I always like getting that half point on either side of it where I can figure it out rather than putting myself in a push situation. But, the other part of this, which is really interesting, is that because online gambling is only available in certain states, and
or if you have a VPN.
Well, or if you live, if you live in Nevada, then you can, or have a computer that makes it seem like you're in Nevada, then you can bet on Nevada sports. But people aren't going to Vegas this weekend like they would normally do during a Super Bowl weekend. So the actual money that is transferring hands in any kind of betting market is way lower just because of COVID than it would be in a normal year. Obviously, I think people will still bet with like their friends and stuff like that, like they usually do. But the big business of gambling on sports is not quite the same this year. So you have to think about it more in terms of you might be able to put a more out there line in a heavier betting time because you get a lot of people who would just the talk is that the Chiefs high powered offense and blah, blah, blah. And then it starts driving up the price. And then all of a sudden you get a 5-point spread or something like that. Vegas is being way more conservative with this line, I think, because it's not just that it should be a close game, which I think people think it will be, but also they need to cover themselves from
There's less
getting
money on
yeah,
both sides of the bet.
they need to cover themselves for that sort of thing. So
The website I happen to pull up here also mentions that it opened at Chiefs -3 and over under 57.5.
yeah,
Which tells me that apparently a lot of people were taking the under, which is why the under keeps moving down.
Yeah.
And to go up from -3 to 3.5 and then come back down means that people were taking the Chiefs at -3 and they had to push it up a bit, or they weren't taking the Chiefs at -3.
yeah. I mean, like
and they pushed it up a
it's
bit.
basically how the money comes in.
Yeah.
So obviously a lot of early Chiefs money, and then maybe later in the week it became more Buck money, and then
so they
yeah.
pushed it up a little bit to get more Chief money in, and then now it's coming back down to 3 to get.
Yeah, because I mean, like it wasn't going to get higher than 3.5. I don't, unless something really weird happened.
Mahomes has COVID,
or Brady has COVID.
Brady has COVID.
Like
yeah.
it wasn't going to get higher than 3.5. So if you're a Chiefs, if you think the Chiefs are going to win by more than 3 points, 3.5 points, you want to buy it when you have as much latitude as you possibly can. So getting in there early, I guess, is, or if you're betting on the Bucks early, like you'd want to have the bigger line because again, they win by 3, you push, you get your money back, which is fine, but you don't win anything.
Yeah.
If it's 3.5, then field goal doesn't do anything. You can, but
I don't like any of the lines on that at all. Even the under is in a spot where, and that's of course why, because less money and it's going to be less dynamic. But 56 is one, because the expert has it at 30-24 final, which puts us at what, 54?
yeah.
So that's under the current over under. It was 3.5 under the 57.5. But I didn't realize. I'm doing the math in my head.
Wait, 34-30?
34-24.
Oh, okay.
30-24.
Yeah.
Which is 54 points total.
Yeah.
See, and again, it's going to be the thing of like at the end of the first quarter, we're going to know. Are they going to really hit the over? Are they going to go over? Or are they going to hit under? Because I think the first 2 drives from both teams will let us know.
I will say this. I'm not super confident on anything regarding the Super Bowl. So, while I would probably take the Bucks just because I think it'll be a closer game, it's not because I think the Bucks are necessarily the clear favorite. One thing I would put money on, though, if I was in the Vegas area online at some point in the next couple of days, is Rob Gronkowski to score a touchdown. I bet you get really good odds on it, and I almost guarantee they're trying to figure out a way to make it happen.
Yeah.
It just feels like they've been saving Gronk for the touchdown in the Super Bowl.
You want
like,
that moment?
Yeah. So, I don't usually get feelings about these sort of things, but when I do, I feel like it's important to share. I told everyone to take the Raiders over the Chiefs in the first week they played at the new stadium in Vegas.
True.
Because people, everyone's like, oh, the Raiders suck. They're not going to be any good. I'm like, open in a new house. People get excited about that sort of thing.
Yep.
Like these players are going to come out ready to play because they're opening their new stadium and they don't want it to be a losing game. So,
and the Nevada was open for fans to be there. Not everybody,
No.
but some fans, right?
no, it was
Is it still closed?
yeah, they didn't have any
Oh,
fans all season, I don't think.
Well.
Yeah.
Is there a line
Get
where
to
I
have a
can-
second inaugural or a second
first season?
second
First
yeah,
season?
what is it?
Inaugural.
Yeah,
Season?
inaugural season, yeah.
Is there a line that I can take for Tom Brady to suffer a Joe Theismann injury on the field during the Super Bowl?
Not one of the respectable books, I don't think.
Okay.
You'd have to go off market for that.
I just really
You'd
want,
have to go to the places where they do monkey fights and stuff.
I want to put that kind of juju in the universe. I just want to put it out there and just let the universe know somebody's looking for it. And in this alternate timelines that are possible.
The
Maybe.
universe looks down. It's like, oh, the one who said things about running people over with his car. I think not.
Or the universe says
Or like
the one who wants to run down the anti-vaxxers. I can't do that. I can't do that because it'll make everybody want to run people down. But
I mean, the Tom
I'll give
Brady
you Brady.
thing. Yeah.
He's at the end of his career anyway. He's going to make millions of dollars the rest of his life. I'm going to give you the Theismann. Go ahead.
The one last thing we wanted to just quickly mention.
If he breaks his leg during the Super Bowl,
Clip it.
listen, I'm just saying, prophetic. I'm calling it.
See, I don't do that same sort of thing about my Rob Gronkowski call, so I'm just saying.
Yeah, but that's really likely. Tom Brady is at the
Listen, I'm
40 years old.
sure you could get like plus 280 on that Rob Gronkowski touchdown call.
Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah.
The last topic, yes.
The last topic, Rams be ramming. This whole draft picks for players thing is for the birds, clearly. So they've decided to send off 2 of them to the Detroit Lions, 2 first-round picks and a third-round pick to the Detroit Lions for Matthew Stafford, who will take over for Jared Goff, who was also sent to Detroit in the deal.
Yes.
And one of those first-round picks, by the way, was apparently because Goff's contract is so massive. It was like here, take this first-round pick and Goff. So,
yes. You must pay him as well. We're not going to pay him any money. Here's what I just
though
thought
it's funny, the Rams for this coming season, not the one that they just played, the one coming up, will be paying $30 million to Todd Gurley and to Jared Goff for not playing for them.
Not anymore, though.
Yeah.
Detroit's picking up that money, right?
No, but there's still bonus money that's associated with the Rams that they can't get out of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just thought, though, maybe
when you
not
trade
such
a player, you get penalized by a certain amount of their
yeah. Maybe not such a dumb decision. No COVID season last season in college football, and possibly a weirdly short or different collegiate season next season means maybe the draft isn't going to be as clear or as knowingful as it might be in previous years. So are they worth as much as they would be any other year? I don't know. There have been talks about Deshaun Watson being worth 3 first-round draft picks. Sure.
And I think that if you are giving up 2 for Matthew Stafford, the conversation of 3 for – because, I mean, like –
rid of Jared Goff. Don't say it's for Matt Stafford. It's to get rid of Jared Goff.
You could have traded another first-round pick and another trade to get rid of Goff, all right? Like – they already are going to be 7 years in between first-round picks. So I think they'll be fine. I think they're fine with the strategy of get rid of them. So
here is the only thing that I want to mention about this whole thing. God, I got to find the image. Hang on. It was brought to my attention now that Matthew Stafford's been in the news, and he's never in the news, that it is completely possible that Elon Musk and Matt Stafford are the same person. They have the same jaw. Also, Haley Joel Osment may be one of these 3 people. I watched a movie called Triplet Strangers or 3 of a Kind or something like that. And it was about 3 guys from 3 different families who were ostensibly strangers. Watch the documentary. It's very interesting. But I think Elon Musk, Matt Stafford, and Haley Joel Osment, although they are 3 very different ages, might be either the same person or they might be related to each other. We should really look into that. So anyway, that's all I really had to say. I'm just glad Matt Stafford's in the news because I think he has been underrated in Detroit, and LA is going to be good for him. He's going to do well here. And I don't want to cheer for Jared Goff.
by the way, my Rob Gronkowski stuff here.
Yeah.
Plus 225 anytime touchdown score.
Okay.
So $100 bet.
Yeah.
You get that touchdown. Plus 225 on the back end. Plus the 100 you initially. Yeah.
So
I mean, if you really want to get into it, though, you ready for this prop?
sure. Yeah.
Rob Gronkowski.
Yeah.
Score at least 3 touchdowns,
Okay.
including overtime.
Okay.
But that one is plus 1250
But wait, so
or 12,500, I should say.
the first bet
Yeah.
wouldn't include overtime. He's got to score a touchdown in the first 4 quarters.
No, I mean anytime.
Okay.
Anytime it happens.
But so he.
I mean, you could also pay more if you think it's the first touchdown or the last touchdown scored of the game.
Right. Yeah.
You can get 1,800 on those, but.
But so if he scores 3 touchdowns at any point during the game, it's 12,500.
Yeah.
But theoretically,
If you bet on it beforehand, that's 3 touchdowns though is a pretty impressive.
That's a high order.
I mean that one seems more like a. Well, let's throw a $10 flyer on it and make 160.
Yeah, that also.
Or make
You should not bet the under if you're going to take that bet because there's no way they stay less than 54 points. If Gronkowski
minus
put up
1250 for that one.
Yeah.
All right, that's about it. I think we've done enough.
Hopefully so, since it's 2 hours worth of show.
Not quite.
Little short.
You know where you can find all the longest podcasts we've ever done.
Where's that?
OhTheAnthem.com. Core to OhTheAnthem.com. On Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the listener line, 443-219-7595.
What's that number again?
443-219-7595. You can find more of me on my website, CoreyBakerFilmmaker.com, Facebook.com/CoreyBakerFilm, at LegendCB5 on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And yeah, got a new camera, so I got things I got planned. But in the meantime, it's been a lot of writing. So
and then new video this week, right? What's the new video? Is this up already?
Writing. Not breaking the focus from writing right now. I'm gonna finish. I've been doing so well. I've been getting a lot of work done the last couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I just need to put my head down. I'm 6 scenes away. I'm just almost there. Just gotta push.
All right, so you heard tonight, folks. 6 scenes away. We'll check in next week and see where we are.
So now I'm 16 scenes away.
I did a little editing. Now I need to start over. I'm sorry. Okay.
Cut the whole first part. I'm gonna do a whole nother.
Well, you can find more of me at Robert and Chico on all your social networks. That, of course, is Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I am trying to start a new TikTok trend. If you follow me already, you know it's the Notorious Challenge. As I said in the post, ladies, I think you're beautiful just the way you are and just how you want to be. So I'm saying to you, go be how you want to be. Show me how you want to be seen, I guess. Maybe
Yeah.
does that make any sense? Yeah, I want you to show me how you are when you want to be how you want to be. So go do the Notorious Challenge. It's on TikTok. And I edited this song myself. So when that thing blows up and everybody's doing it, I don't want somebody to claim it. You heard it here first. I did it. I posted it first. Check the time. I edited the song. So I know that it was me first. But also, you can follow all the other social medias because I cross-post everything. And find more on the website, robertandcheek.com, where you can find links to all the stuff that I'm doing, including the books that are available on Amazon.
Barrow's books.
I almost forgot my own little byline. That's would have been a first. Anyway, so yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think we've done good here today.
We've done something. I don't know if it's good. But as always, you're listening to the Oh the Anthem podcast, part of the Oh the Anthem digital network. For Corey, this is Rob. Have a great week, everybody.
Cigarette time.
Yee.